Hey guys, so my name is Tom, and I'm going to talk about the U.S. dependency on oil, or otherwise known as non-renewable resources. And this is definitely critical because, oil is expensive, non-renewable energy could be cheap and efficient and green, and we'll talk about 5 reasons why we need renewable energy sources, and why non-renewable energy source is bad. And with each subtopic, we'll talk about claims and reasons as to why it's good. So, or why it's an issue rather, not good, but why it's bad. So first, the boom would mean a whole lot more to the U.S. if they were using their own oil for starters, and so like home drilling, and instead of using all of the imported oils from countries like Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, other OPEC nations. And so if we did that, it would be cheaper, we wouldn't be as dependent on other people, and then also it would help drop prices for everybody if we were using our own and not anyone else's. Secondly, prices are affected for the U.S. globally by global supply and demand, not just how much does the U.S. need, so that's what they deliver to us. Not true. You have China and Europe and every other first and second world and some third world nations that use oil for cars, factories, whatever have you. So we're not the only ones consuming oil here in the U.S. It is a global what do you call it? It's a global resource that is definitely affected by supply and demand. Third, the energy boom won't stop because you're always going to have oil speculators that are looking to make a quick buck. That being said, wherever there's new oil to find, so say that they find this whole new underground oil in, I don't know, let's pick Antarctica. You're going to have oil speculators just in droves down there wanting to buy the land, wanting to drill, wanting to keep oil as a high market commodity that can be sold for a quick buck so that they can continue to make a high profit for little pay. Simple as that. And so an example of this would be when back in June oil prices dropped. Or no, I'm sorry. This is the oil prices dropped, and so this kind of brings me to my fourth point, and that is OPEC is part of those speculators, and they won't just sit idly. And if the U.S., if our demand drops, then globally, because we're one of the highest consumers of oil in the world, then if our demand drops, then everyone else's demand stays the same. Prices are just going to drop like a rock. I mean, that's simple supply and demand, economics, boom, bada bing, done. And so what happened is oil dropped in June, this past June, down to $80 a barrel versus what it was in March when it was $107 a barrel. And so OPEC told Saudi Arabia in particular, cut your production so we can keep the prices jacked up so that, if supply drops, then demand will stay, or no, if demand drops, the supply drops with it to keep a consistent amount of need and want so that supply stays lower so demand can stay high and so the prices stay higher. And that's how OPEC makes a profit. And so they do not at all want those profits messed with because oil is a rich business and OPEC likes their money. And finally, I conclude with home drilling would be great if we didn't use a crude method known as hydraulic fracking, which is where they dig through and into the shale and bedrock in the water environments that they get the oil from, like, for example, in the Gulf region. And the consequence of that is that while the technology is good, it's not quite good enough for it to be environmentally friendly, in the sense that when they do hydraulic fracking, it still hurts the environment. But hopefully we'll break through that, and but yeah, that's about it. So if you want the U.S. to be dependent on non-renewable energy sources and continue to need high costs for high profit and high demand and keep wanting to pay OPEC a lot of money, that's fine, but we need to find cheap renewable energy sources if we want this oil boom or this energy boom to mean anything.